think becoming a Risen Elder Dragon is a painful experience? Well, that clears that up. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, as today we talk Title Update 3, but more specifically, we talk Risen Teostra and Risen Kushala excessively, because I find them both fascinating. Don't get me wrong, Chaotic Gore Magala, he is, well, delicious. In terms of how tasty his inclusion is, I don't mean that he is actually delicious or tasty. In fact, I imagine Gore Magala meat as a general rule would be awful, but I also imagine you're probably sat there going, is this really relevant? Why are you saying any of this? I just want you to hear what you have to say about the Risen Elder Dragons, and that is fair enough. In any case, yeah, we have the star of the show, which is Chaotic Gore Magala, but I honestly can't help myself be perhaps even more fascinated and, yes, even more excited for the Risen monsters, because I see in them such wonderfulness. Not only do I genuinely believe that Risen is the single best way they have done take endgame monster, give it powerful form that we can also give all the other endgame monsters, have fun, hunt them again. It's different visually, the movesets are appreciated differently, its thematic time with the story is excellent, it beats Frenzy for me, it beats Apex, it beats Tempered, it beats Arch-Tempered, it beats Apex, it beats Hyper.
You fucking crazy, man. You sound insane. Do you realize that?
And I know it's a bold call. This is also a bold call. But the more I think about it, the more I find myself agreeing. At absolute worst, original Frenzy Apex's draw, because that was very new, exciting, and innovative for the time, especially with how the Frenzy wove itself through the story of Monster Hunter 4th Gen. But when I look at Risen Teostra and Risen Kushala Daora, I kind of see echoes of other monsters. Well, maybe not fully other monsters, but other versions of these monsters. Because Chameleos, bless him, has never got an official other version. He's not got a subspecies, he's not got a variant. In fact, Risen Chameleos is the closest thing we have ever gotten to actually a proper new version of Chameleos in the entirety of Extended Monster Hunter. And that is really sad, but it meant that every new move he has was truly a new Chameleos move. Whereas with Teostra and Kushala, I mean, they have versions galore across various Monster Hunter games, spin-offs, and so on. And looking at these two, yeah, I kinda sorta see it. Let's start with Teostra, who, by the way, I think looks impeccable. The decision to give him that white shock of hair to imply not only did overcoming the affliction and becoming Risen, not only was it taxing on his body that it's like aged him, it also does give, yeah, that aged look, which implies wisdom and experience, strength learned through the years. It really kind of looks like veteran Teostra, you know? And of course, the glowing fiery orange that being Risen gives you works so beautifully with Teostra's natural aesthetic. It looked a bit very much, let's say, contrasty on Chameleos. I liked it, but it didn't make the most sense. Well, not sense, if that's what being Risen does, that's what being Risen does, but next to the purple, it was like, okay, that's interesting, glowy bits there. Whereas with Teostra, it just makes him look so much cooler, or hotter, I suppose. It really just adds to him. It makes him look terrifying and badass. But you know what else this Risen form looks like to me? You see how his arms and his legs are just on fire? They're just flaming, they're just subtly burning away, permanently alight. Outside of that being really sweet, it very much strikes to me of, yep, you may have guessed it, a certain frontier monster by the name of Supremacy Teostra. And you see what I mean, right? This guy has these flaming focal hotspots, I mean literally hotspots, that Risen seems to share. Risen has the back feet, he has the arms, he has the glow on the front spike of his wings, he has the more glowy front mane on his head too. And it might be a coincidence, but with how Sunbreak is going, with the multiple frontier injections, not just on the Espinases, but even something like giving Lucent Nagakuga a blinking Nagakuga move in the Rain of Toxic Spikes, a part of me is like, I would totally believe if they've gone, alright, we're doing a Super Teostra, what can we do? Well, we have a couple versions of Super Teostra over here. Is there anything we like that they do that we might want to borrow? And even if none of the moves match, though an enhanced Supernova is definitely something that they both share, the actual kind of vibe of it really sort of speaks to that to me. And I'm not going to say like, oh guys, Risen Teostra, it's basically going to be Supremacy Teostra. I mean, Supremacy Teostra was ridiculous. It's a frontier monster. It had a move where it would just flap its wings, and with each flap a wave of explosive heat went out, and actually it was a really neat idea for a concept, just these big wind hot air blasts over and over. I really liked it. But at the same time, I don't think they're going to perhaps one-to-one translate him over, but I just saw Risen Teostra and I was like, oh, that's Supremacy-y. So just the fact that I make that connection must imply that something about Risen Teostra has that kind of thing going for him. And there's not really anywhere I'm going with this. It's not like, aha, I've got you, I see your design inspirations. It's just something interesting, and it really adds to me how much I like these Risen monsters. I think they are, again, to stress it, the coolest enhanced monster type or concept that we have had. So I'm very much excited for this Teostra. I'm excited to see if any of his expanded moveset really does kind of give me that Frontier-esque vibe. And let's be honest, Risen monsters in general are that kind of over-the-top holy hellness that we know, and in some cases love from Frontier, so I am very much on board. And then Kushala Daora is another case entirely. His way of doing things, on top of, again, also looking great. I feel like the orange burn tips on the otherwise steely grey is a really strong look, and it's quite contrasty in the best way. He very much seems to have gone full Black Wind. We know Kushala can go all the way to Black Wind in extreme push scenarios, but it feels like when he goes into his full Risen mode, that's what it's gonna be. Constant infusions of Black Wind, and outside of the big ball of death, he's doing like paw slams of Wind Blast. Big, melee, yet infused with what he is attacks. And that focus on Black Wind and maybe a more physical style does give me rusted Kushala Daora vibes, and I think that's quite nice because I don't think we'd ever actually want rusted Kushala back. I mean, I'll be real, he's really annoying.
See how you are, you just have to say that you're fine.
However, a Kushala that's about to shed and therefore has this heavier, sluggish, but denser and more powerful shell is really neat, and his enhanced focus on Black Wind and melee is also really neat. So seeing perhaps just subtle hints at that from this Risen Kushala is really cool, though this one, I admit, is a more tenuous connection. The point I'm really wanting to make today is that Risen monsters, I feel like, is a really good excuse to both give them an entirely new sense of boom, but you can also totally look back at the more powerful versions of these monsters we've had and kind of bake it into this new spin and get a sort of best of both worlds situation without directly bringing that monster back, because perhaps it would be a waste of a slot to do it literally one-to-one like in Rusted Kushala's case. So I am looking forward to hunting them immensely, just as I am looking forward to wearing their skin immensely. These have got to be two of the just coolest looking armor sets I have seen in a while. I don't know why Risen Kushala makes you look like the evil overlord of the land, but I am very glad that it does.
You will fear me and my immunity to wind status effects.
And on that note, with their armor, more than the hunts, the fact that if we do get both Kushala and Teostra blessing in decoration form like we got Chameleos, it would be weird if we didn't, right? Why just do Chameleos and not just make that a thing? perhaps Risen Elder Dragons as a concept are going to give us signature Elder Dragon armor skills in decoration form. So if we ever get, like, Super Risen Shagaru, maybe we'll get Bloodlust in decoration form and be able to make Bloodlust builds with anything, which would be meta-defining. For now, though, if we get that Kushala Blessing, if we can put 3 level 1 decorations in and have our health constantly going up, even without any red, I mean, not only is that very useful for hunting in general, but can you imagine the Immortal build, freed of its shackle of needing to use 2 Kushala pieces, in the wake of Flaming Espinas, Violet, and anything chaotic and Kushala or Teostra armor itself might bring? I just... Oh, I am excited so much. Apparently I accidentally evil laughed just a little bit. In any case, guys, I thought this would be quite a fun, if at least interesting topic, and I would love to know your thoughts too when it comes to these risen monsters, their inspirations, where some of their moves may come from, and indeed as if you like them as a thing in general, and that is all well and good. For now, like if you enjoyed this, subscribe and hit the bell for more. Consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below. It really does mean a lot, and it does keep us going, and it is unbelievably appreciated. A good boy.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.